Well, folks, hello. Hello and welcome. Welcome back to Just Folks Conversations with Emma. You may recall that it's been a minute since our last conversation, and that's because somebody needed a break. Um, yours truly here. And so I took that break, and we are now recording with this next wonderful guest. We're recording now. It's December of 2023. And when you get to enjoy this conversation, it will be January of 2024. We'll be starting the new year. So consider this an extended gift from the holiday season from me to you. So my guest today is someone who started off as a baby, as a little teeny baby in Baltimore. And between the day he was born and the day that we meet him now, he has become one of the country's most distinguished, respected, and cherished physicians. I'd like to introduce to you today Dr. Michael L Brodie, otherwise known to me as Uncle Mike. Hello, Uncle Mike. How are you?
Oh, doing fine, thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for taking time to join us today and just, have a conversation, just talk about things and share wisdom and experiences that you've had over the lifetime. So you started off in Baltimore. What was that like for you?
Well, the first thing I remember in Baltimore was Riggs Avenue, and I remember the rain coming, and I take a leaf, sometimes with ants on it, take a leaf up to the top of the top of the street, and in the gutter, of course, and I'd let the leaf ride down in the gutter with the rain. That was like fun for me, watching it ride down. And then all of a sudden, one time I looked and somebody came and cut the trees down. So that was like really kind of earthing to me. What is going on here? They're cutting the trees down. So they cut the trees down, and there were no more leaves to ride down the gutter with the rain. So that's the first thing I can remember, truthfully.
Yeah, well, those were simpler times. So what was the neighborhood like? What was it like for you
Uh,
being a small boy?
Neighborhood was okay for me because I didn't venture too far, but so the neighborhood was okay. I didn't venture too far, but from there we moved to Walbrook Avenue, and the neighborhood expanded some. There were Caucasians in the neighborhood when we moved, but at the end of the first year, they were all moved out. I said, "Oh, okay."
Okay,
Used to
so
play with the guy across the street, Louis, a white boy, but they all moved out except the ones next door, Miss Maddox and Mr. Maddox. He was an alcoholic, and he would come home, and she'd bring him halfway home, uh, and he would be lit and drunk. And one day he was smoking, fell asleep drunk, burned up his bed, and ambulance came for him, and he died. So Miss Maddox was without him, which was probably a blessing for her.
mm,
Yeah, and
but there,
she had several cats, and she named the cats after the six of us. Robbie, Mikey, so forth.
so there's six of you, and
Six of us, yeah.
girls and boys, or all boys, all girls. What was that like?
Three boys, three girls. Yeah.
Okay, so where did
Yeah.
you fit into that group?
I was the youngest. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I was the baby. Yeah.
okay. So you had sisters and brothers to play with, and the neighbors across the street. And even though the composition of the neighborhood changed, it
Yeah.
seemed like it was a good place to grow up.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And my cousin was around the corner. My other cousin was 2 blocks away. The other cousin was 3 blocks away. So we had family.
And
We had family, so that was good.
okay. Well, did you have any particular interests as a child? You know, because now you're a physician. But did you think as a young boy that's something you would pursue?
Nah, not at all. I was my interest then was just getting into stuff and figuring out stuff, which I love to do. I had an erector set, what we called it at those days, an erector set, and I would put that together to make it work. And I had a couple gadgets I'd put together, but I never hadn't thought about medicine or anything like that at all. So from Walbrook Avenue, I went to elementary school and then junior high school. And here's where my teachers were very, very influential to me. Mr. Bradby at 142 was very instrumental to me. Miss Stubbs at 142. Miss Stubbs was very influential to me.
What did
Uh,
that look like? And what kind of support did they give you?
just encouraged me with my academics and helped me with my academics. If you know, and that was type of rather than you put a paper down, take a quiz, take the quiz back. They were there with me to help me with that quiz as to what went on. These teachers, Miss Taylor, Mr. Bradby, Miss Stubbs, just some teachers that I do remember. Then I went to junior high school, and there
So let me
were
let me just let me ask you a question here. Was this an elementary school that was uh, restricted in any way, or was it integrated? You know, what was the
come
composition?
on, what are you talking? What are you talking about? In those days, nothing was integrated. Heck
Just
no.
I have to be on the record with that. Okay. Yes,
Get
so
on
you
the
can
record. Get on the record. Yeah,
be
no,
on the
no,
record.
of course they were segregated.
Mhm.
And the junior high school was segregated, but there were people like Haywood Harrison, Miss Holt. These were superior teachers that would help us, would help me too, get along. And it was like it was like doors start to open. Then I start to see even more, about study and all. Especially Mr. Harrison. He went on to get a doctorate degree and went to Morgan as a Dr. Harrison and was teaching English there. I think it was, yeah, good teacher. This is from 181. So one day, the principal at 181 called in me and the Colbert twins
Is this in
and
middle school? I mean, a junior high school or is high school?
junior high school.
Junior high. Okay.
The principal called us in and said, me, the Colberts, and I forget who else said, you're going to represent the race. And I'm like, what race are we having? 100-yard dash, or what is it going to be? I don't know. He said, no, you're going to go to City College. So we were the fourth group to go to City College. The
Mhm.
first group was one guy by itself, and
Mhm.
then I think the second one was a few, and then we were the fourth group at City College. So okay, go to City College. So what? So I went to
And
City College, and what I
we need
found out was
just need to insert real quickly. City College is a high school in Baltimore. For those
Baltimore
who
City College.
Baltimore
Yeah,
City College is a high school.
it's a high school. That's good to note that Baltimore City College is a high school. It
Mhm.
was a high school of some reputation at that time,
Mhm.
and I said, okay, let's do this race. So we went to City, and right away I realized that these white people are no different than me in many respects. So these white boys, it was an all boys school too, and they're no different than me in any respect. And uh, I had a teacher, Miss Southwick. She was a superior teacher, and I think I got 95 in geometry. I mean, she was very helpful, very helpful. Uh, and very, very non-presidential. Something else happened to me at City in the history. Mr. Greenwald, we had a thick book because we were carrying books at those times. We didn't have apps; we had books. So this book by Mr. Greenwald was really thick. I said, well, Mr. Greenwald, we've been reading and reading for weeks. We haven't talked about the blacks and their role in U.S. history. Oh, we'll get there, Brodie. We'll get there. We'll get there. In the middle of this book, I forget the name of it. In the middle of this book was the page for Booker T. Washington, and on the back of that was the page for George Washington Carver. And that was it. I said, Mr. Greenwald, this is all you're talking about for Black history in America. Well, Brodie, blacks didn't do very much in American history. Well, I had 142 and I had 181 in junior high school. So I studied about Sojourner Truth. I studied about I think Charles Drew was just coming along at that time. Studied about him. I studied about uh, you know, County Cullen. I studied about these people, black people. So I knew black did a lot in American history, even from Crispus Attucks. I knew they did a lot, but this book had 2 pages, thick book of black history. So I just, shut up, kept going, because I knew the truth. So that was my so I did all right in history. I did all
Well,
right at the school too.
that we're clear about. But what I'm finding is interesting that during the time you were in high school, that issue of the contribution of African Americans to the United States was considered so minimal, and
Yeah,
now uh, people are seeking to repress what little bit that was shared to begin with.
right,
So, um,
right.
yeah. So the struggle continues.
And
Uh,
nothing about slavery or anything like that,
mhm.
nothing about that. Tucson the truth, nothing about slavery. So it's like, nothing went on about that. But I'm like, okay, all right. But I knew because of the foundation I had in elementary school and junior high school, I knew better than what they showed me in that history. I knew better, you
Well,
know.
did you
you know.
find that knowledge in any way gave you some sort of internal stability? Because if you were one of a very few Black students in a predominantly white school, with any Black teachers, were there any?
I think there was one science teacher, Mr. Willis,
Okay,
downstairs. That was about it. Yeah.
but did how did you feel about being such a pronounced minority in that setting?
Emma, didn't bother me. It
Good.
really didn't bother me. I mean, it really didn't bother me. And the other reason it didn't bother me is because Howard Lee Cornish was on the basketball team. He was a point guard and he was all-star and he was ranked the best in the MSA, Maryland Scholastic Association. Howard was black. He was in my homeroom class and some of my classes. Lee was black and he was like, you know, could beat anybody. And then during that time, City won the MSA football championship too. So you know, we can we can match up with them academically. We can match up with them physically. So I had no issues at all. None at all.
Wonderful. Okay, so after high school, what happened next?
Well, I went to college for one semester, and my dad didn't have any more money because my sister was also at Morgan College, Morgan State College. So I dropped out of school. Was, that was enough, Dad. I dropped out of school and I joined. I was going to join the service. My brothers had a brother in the Air Force, a brother who had been in the Air Force. But then my brother-in-law, who was like a big brother to me, Archie, he was in the Marines, so I joined the Marine Corps.
Oh,
Woo woo.
what
Yeah.
now? That had to be quite an experience. The Marines have quite a reputation.
You ain't lying. You ain't even lying. So from I went to school for electronics and crypto repair, and then I went to Okinawa for almost a year, and then I ended up in Vietnam for almost a year. So
Yeah, that
that was
Vietnam
a mind
experience.
that was a mind-boggling opening experience. Yeah.
Okay, a lot of people came back from Vietnam changed, those who were able to come back in ways
Mm.
that they actually never recovered from. How do you,
Well,
what kept your boat afloat? How were you able to navigate?
afloat nothing. Them. I came back crazier than a bed bug, and I had therapy for years. Yeah.
Mm,
When I came back, I where did I go first? Baltimore for a minute, and then to California. And then I worked for the NAACP for a while as the Western Regional Youth Director. So that was, interesting working for the NAACP. Something I left out though when I was in high school. One of the most dramatic experiences in my life was Miss Juanita Jackson Mitchell. She's like another mother to me,
mm,
to many of us. She took these little boys out the ghetto, out the streets, and she had us marching and picketing and protesting and so forth. And she was like wonderful to us, and she gave us, experience.
Well, let's
Her
talk
husband,
a little bit about her because everyone around the country does not know necessarily who Juanita Jackson Mitchell.
oh, Anita Jackson Mitchell. I think she was the first black woman to finish University of Maryland Law School, and she had an office on Druid Hill Avenue. And
Mhm,
her son, she had three sons: Clarence, Kiefer, Michael, and George. Four sons. And Michael and I went to high school. Michael was at City, went to high school with me, so we were good friends. And Ms. Mitchell took all us boys and put us and girls and put us in a NAACP youth council, and we
mhm.
were picketing and protesting and sitting in and doing all kinds of stuff. And then her husband, Clarence Mitchell Jr., was her husband. He was in charge of the NAACP uh, Washington Bureau. And we went over to his office, and his thing was writing bills and things and presenting them to the president. He sat with every president from Johnson to whoever else came after that before he died. So when he was known as the 51st senator
Mhm.
because all that he did, Mr. Mitchell and Big Clarence, and we would go over there to his office, and I mean we would be like playing and carrying on, but we'd be learning everything. And he and Miss Mitchell like introduced us to people to give us projection. Introduced, I met Muskie. He's about almost 7 foot tall. Edwin Muskie, I think his name is from
Senator,
New England.
was he a senator at the time? United
I
States
think I,
Senator.
I think he was. I think he
Okay.
was. I think Muskie was. And then I met I call him HQ Hubert Horatio Humphrey. We met him. Miss
Mm-hmm.
Mitchell and then she introduced us to a lot of other figures that I don't even remember right now.
So, what was the
Um,
impact on you and the other young young people who were being
keep
introduced to these folks?
our impact was keep going and keep growing. Yeah, it just keep going, keep growing. Don't ever give up. But these people were so influential, and Humphrey was white, Miss Muskie was white, and I think some of them were black, but it didn't really matter. They were in the struggle, and that was we called it the struggle. and that was so important. So that part was in high school. Then after the Marines, I came back. I came up to California, and I had PTS, post traumatic stress syndrome, and let's see, I was married to who was I married to? Married to Beverly, and I was married to Lynette, and then I was I don't know, single or something. But I couldn't keep a relationship. It just wouldn't working, And I, but what I also did during that time, UC Berkeley had some positions where they're offering minor students.
Okay, we've lost your picture, but I see it now. Okay.
Yeah, back. And
All right.
UC Berkeley was offering some students, and so what I did was I got enrolled in UC Berkeley. And then I figured that I said, for all this civil rights stuff, I said, I'll be a lawyer. I'll be a lawyer. So I took the LSAT, the law school exam, and if King Arthur was sitting here and Guinevere was two places behind him, and Sir Guy moved in between her, and then Sir Kay moved over here, where was Guinevere? I don't know. I can't think like that. Get
Okay.
out of here. Yeah, I didn't think
So,
that. So then I said I can't handle this stuff. So so then I said, I can't handle this stuff. So I said, I was in love with a woman that I was getting married to a woman I didn't love, and I didn't know what to do. So I hadn't had any therapy yet. So I drove my car to the airport in San Francisco. I said, how far can I go without a passport? Because I didn't have a passport. They said, you can go to Canada. I said, no, they speak English there. They said, you can go to Mexico. I said, I'll take that then. So I parked my car, left it there, or parked my car. I got a ticket and everything, and I just left my car there, and I got a ticket to Mexico City. So I flew to Mexico City. I had a duffel bag, and I tried to find a hotel place to stay. So I went on and I did, and so I better learn to speak Spanish since I'm here. So I don't know what I was doing. That's end up what I did.
how long did you stay in Mexico?
Almost a year, yeah, and
What did you do?
whatever I wanted to do. I met a friend who was um who was in law school, and we went to the bullfight. And he's sitting up there eating hot dogs, talking about, yeah, this one is good, this one is good, this one's good. I'm like, man, the bull is all bleeding. How's it gonna be good? He was having a great time, my buddy.
Mhm.
So I'm like, oh, I'll take a baseball game.
Okay, because if you have PTSD and you see someone torturing a bull, because that's what it looks like to us, we're not accustomed to that. How did that impact you? Did you find that upsetting?
I didn't go to any more bullfights.
Okay. Yeah.
Then my friend had a girlfriend, and she had a cousin. So we said, let's take them to the movie. Because I only had $2,000 when I hit there, but that was pretty good in those days. So I said, let's take them to the movie. So we took them to the movie. What I didn't realize was that the chaperone sits in the middle. His girl sits there over there next to the chaperone. He's next to his girl. My girl sits next to the chaperone, and I'm next to her. The chaperone is in the middle checking out everything. So y'all gotta watch the movie. Ain't gonna be no smooching around here.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
So
difference.
they don't chaperone no more, but that was chaperone. So I
Mm.
did that, and then finally I met a sergeant who wanted to take me to Veracruz to train Mexican Marines because I was fresh out of the Vietnam, still a few 2 hours. So I decided, well, am I going to do this or am I going to get out of here? Then I just decided, let me go back to the U.S. Then I said before that, I said I'm going to be a doctor. I had a friend who was a lawyer who became a judge. Her name was Judy. I remember Judy's last name. And she had said to me a long time ago, Michael, why don't you be a doctor? We were sitting up talking about what to do. And I wish and it hit me what Judy said, be a doctor. So I said, well, I do like molecules and stuff like that. So I came back to Baltimore and I went back to Morgan, had a little GI Bill money then, and I decided to pursue my got A's for a year or semester, and that's when I met Beverly. And then after that, I said, no, Baltimore can't hold me. So I, I transferred back to Berkeley again, this time in the science mode. And there were a lot of other Black science students there. And we all, formed a group and supported one another. And from there, I went on to medical school after my Berkeley. So I never had a degree from Berkeley, but I had 7 years of college. That's plenty.
Hmm.
Plus 7 years of the uh, mostly sciences and good grades. So they
Mhm.
let me in. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, in terms of your practice, what did you decide to do? Now you've become a doctor. Which direction did you decide to go?
Well, I wanted to deal with the whole family. Everybody was doing family practice then. So I said, well, I'll do family practice. And I did. Yeah. For 40 years. So or more.
That was the right
And
choice.
yeah, from I went to UC Davis Med School, and from UC Davis I went to LA County Martin Luther King for my residency in family. I did pediatrics first and then family medicine. Yeah.
And eventually, but you specialized with, toward the end of your career, you weren't working with children, or
But
families.
that so at the end of my career I was doing rehab medicine, which is a lot less um, tenuous. I was doing mostly people in rehab centers after surgeries or
Mhm.
strokes or things like that.
Mhm.
I was doing
So,
that.
but you certainly found it to be a rewarding career.
How you ask a question like that? Somebody do something for 40 years, they're gonna say it was terrible, I don't like it, or whatever. Of course I'm gonna say it was reward.
I don't know.
I enjoy,
I've talked to some folks who spent a minute in something they really didn't like, and after it was over, it's like
wow.
maybe not quite 40, but they had,
Uh-huh.
it was an endurance race. They had a purpose for doing it because I guess that felt like their only option, but they did.
Right,
So,
right.
what would you say the highlights are for you?
Highlight. That's a good question. What is a highlight? What is a highlight? A highlight. Um, a highlight would be maybe it's been 40 years, so a highlight has been people I've changed. That's the highlight. That's all I can say. People I've changed.
What does
A
that look
guy,
like?
Put a guy with alopecia areata. I mean alopecia universalis, and gave him helped give him some encouragement about how he looked and who he was.
Mhm.
Uh, that's alopecia universalis, is like no hair on your body at all.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
So, how
And
did
one
you
of
help him? What did you do to help him?
just to encourage his worth, his school, his his looks. That some women are going to think you hot, man. I'm telling you.
Mm.
I can tell.
Was he a younger guy? Or,
He was in his teens. Yeah,
oh, oh, yeah. Then he would certainly need a lot of encouragement. Uh,
right.
that that's a pretty
And one of
critical time.
one of my highlights was there was something called Nicholson Garden, and there was something called Jordan Downs, and my office was right. First office was right in between. Nicholson Garden, and Jordan Downs. These are projects, Nicholson Garden and Jordan Downs. And
What
my
part of
office,
California are we talking about?
Southern Cal,
Okay,
LA, Compton.
okay,
And then I could walk out my office. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Watts Towers by
yes,
Simon, what's his, huh?
yes.
I could walk out of my office, look to the left and see the Watts Towers. I think they built it up now. Simon, what's his name? I forget his name, who built it. But that was a highlight to me too.
Okay,
That
so
was a highlight to me too.
there may be some people who don't quite know what to make of Watts Towers. How would you describe in general what that
Uh,
represents?
just an inspirational guy, inspiration by I think this Italian guy who lived in that area at some time and built the Watts Towers. I mean, it's a monument now. It's protected.
What materials did he use in order to construct it? Give us a little
You,
description.
so it was built off of I think broken glass and concrete, and it's a very unique structure for that area. The area is totally black now, well, black and Mexican now, and he I think is Italian. I think, yeah.
Okay. Just as a general point of reference, what is the height of these towers?
I don't know, Emma. I can't tell you exactly
Approximate,
how much.
would you say half a story, maybe 6, 7 feet, 10 feet?
Oh, they're higher than a story, maybe a story and a half.
Oh, that's
The
huge.
tallest, the tallest
That's
ones, yeah. Well, a story and a half. It's not that much, but it's yeah.
okay. Okay, so that was quite an undertaking that and you say it's now a historic protected
I'm
site.
I'm a I'm a doctor, and please don't use undertaking, okay?
Pardon me, my mistake. So, um, what would you say to young people today who are kind of where you were after you came out of high school and maybe in between the time high school and the Marines, or even slightly after that? What would you say to them? Because there are all kinds of challenges that they're facing, similar to what you encountered in your
I
youth.
would I would say to them, I know it sounds like a cliche, but never give up. A challenge is only there for you to surpass it. That's all. Just never give up. Every challenge you see is there for you to grow.
And
So
that's been your philosophy, and you've
mm-hmm.
accomplished quite a bit. Um, you have a beautiful family. Did you want to share anything about your family?
um my wife is wonderful. She's the energizer bunny. She keeps things going. She keeps me going. And even if I wanted to lay back, she wouldn't let me. So it's it's so nice, to have her. I don't know what else to say. I just don't know what to say about her. She's she's everything. And my daughter, my sons, my granddaughter, my grandsons, just. And then I tell you from Baltimore, I had my grandkids came from Baltimore, and my great granddaughter came from Baltimore. So not
Yeah,
only do I have a granddaughter, I have a great granddaughter. Yeah,
that is
so that
wonderful.
I know.
That is wonderful.
Came
So,
from Baltimore.
so you have a legacy in a number of ways, uh, or many legacies actually. Your work, your family, and the person that you are. If
Yeah, I look at my kids, and Filolo is a doctor, PhD in social work.
Mhm.
Kari has a bachelor's in animal science, business management, and he's going to retire from the Navy. He already has his master's degree.
Mhm.
And Brian is diesel specialist in Seattle. So I'm happy my kids are doing well. Um, and I just encourage them to do even better. Um, because I don't know. I told Lolita we were going to the Philippines. I said, what about the grandkids? She said, the grandkids have parents. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, got it, got it, got it, got it. Okay, so I just have to depend on my kids to take care of things.
Okay, so your next stop will be the Philippines.
We decide we're not gonna live there. We're gonna do once we get our business taken care of, our aesthetic business, we can go to the Philippines maybe for a month or two at a time, then come back.
Mhm.
But we aren't gonna just move everything there right now.
Because you are a gentleman of leisure. You are retired now.
That's right.
Yes, and you have certainly earned that. So you'll be globetrotting, I guess, maybe some other places too, if that appeals to you.
We didn't try it, Emma. We didn't try it all
Uh,
over. We got a couple places we want to go. We were going to South America when the COVID hit, so we just want to hit maybe Rio, or
mm,
and we'd like to hit Rio, and then we would like to hit Australia, and that's the big things we want to do. Yeah, because we've been all over Europe
mhm,
and probably Africa one more time.
mhm. What part of Africa did you visit?
We went to South Africa,
Mhm,
but we'd like to go back to Ghana this time.
mm.
I had some lab work done that shows I have some connection with Ghana.
Wonderful. You might find some family.
Hey, Kuta Kente, I don't know.
Yeah, never know. You never know.
Yeah,
Well, I have one more question for you.
no,
If
come on.
if you could sit down at a table across from your 18-year-old self, what would you tell your 18-year-old self? What would you say to him?
Hmm. Well, when I was 18, I was in the Marines. So I would tell myself, be a good Marine and don't get busted. Don't get busted when you lose a rank. Be a good Marine, don't get busted, and slow down on marriage. I really would. But I don't know if that's really true. I just said, good Marine, don't get but I don't want to tell it what I don't want to tell him, man. I want to tell him, go on and live your life, boy. Shoot.
And that's what you
Oh,
did. So you have
yeah.
followed your own advice.
Yeah, go on and live your life, boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do what you want to do.
Well,
Give me
Doc,
one more question. Come on, that's
one
easy.
more question. Okay, well, right now, okay, this one's very timely and it's somewhat political. Right now, our country is in uh I won't say an uproar, but we're at a tipping point, possibly, probably, in terms of our politics.
Hmm.
What do you see as um, the future for the United States? And what are the implications of that?
Well, the future implications are if we go along with Trump, uh, we're going to end up in a fascist state. And if we continue with Trump, we're going to end up in a dictatorial state. Countries in the past have said, oh, this can't happen, that won't happen. Don't worry about this, don't worry about that. And they ended up in, fascism with Mussolini, dictatorship with Hitler. And if people don't see that, then it's going to be tough times. I've already said, I need to make sure that, I'm packing and I got everything, going for me because, these people, they if they think he's going to get elected and be an asset to the company, oh no, oh no, 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 no at all. So I'm hoping that most of the Republicans will see that and either don't vote or vote against him so that he doesn't create this turmoil. Because if he gets in, he's going to fire judges, put judges in, kick people out of Congress, and kick people back in, keep people in Congress. He said he was going to do. I think somebody said Maya Angelou said, if a man tells you who he is, believe him. I think that's Maya Angelou. Yeah,
Yes.
man tells you who he is, believe him. So if he tells us who he is, believe him. Just believe him. Yeah.
Mm. Well, any last words or any advice on any subject that you'd like to share?
Mm, just just try to come through with the good. That's all. Just come through with the good, and the good is not uh, existential. The good is real. Come in with the good, and that's what I just say to people. Period. Come in with the good. I could say love everybody, love your neighbor, love this, love that. We use love too much. Just come in with the good. That's all. Come in with what's good.
Okay.
That's all.
Well, Dr. Michael, I want to thank you for sharing your time and your wisdom. I know that the listeners and viewers are going to be enlightened by your words and your experiences. And to be honest, I'm hoping you'll decide to share a few more episodes. We can do a couple more. I think you've got a few stories that you could probably enlighten us with. So I'm looking forward to having you come back. You have a standing invitation whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Emma. Love you. Take care.
Love you too. See you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.